We're in the room.
We're in it. And y'all are matching in the room.
On purpose.
It's not making me happy.
Literally this morning, Onika laid out this shirt and that shirt and said, honey, I want us to match today since we were doing this together.
No.
But I was dressed first.
You were dressed first.
Yeah.
So tell us how it actually happened.
How it actually happened was I was supposed to have a green jacket on so that I could have a juxtaposition with my bold print, but tone it down to make it look effortless.
I brought a green
jacket.
But
then just to upset me, To upset me.
Oh, upset. Yeah.
He put on a green jacket, which threw off my whole flow for the day. And then now we're matching. And I don't love matching. I love him, but I don't love matching. But I love you.
I love you.
And today we're finishing up the relationship.
Which is like perfect! I love it.
No, it is. It was so good. Yesterday was amazing.
Okay.
We want to jump in so much quicker. And just
ready
to the good stuff.
Let's do it.
Can we talk about that transparency first real quick? Because I want to talk about that again real quick.
Please, go ahead.
Because it's an important piece, I think, to keep on remembering.
Yeah.
We have had a number of friends over the years that have gone through so many different things. And you don't know what a person is going through unless that person, I mean, you can pick up stuff sometimes, but unless that person is willing to really come clean, you just don't know. And I'm just hoping and praying that we can create a church family and community and have relationships where we would be willing to say the really, really hard things. I heard it recently, a friend said it this way, you have the 95% that you're willing to share with people, but there's this other 5% that you don't want to share with anyone. Who can you share that 5% with? And if you don't have anyone, there is space for you to be trapped and live in bondage and fear and anxiety and all the different things that come along with that. But if we can get over that embarrassment and be willing to go, okay, here's a thought that I had. I have not done anything with it, but here's a thought. Because that's where everything starts. It all starts up in our heads. So if I can share this thought first with somebody who's not going to judge me, I think that can help with that healing and the freedom that needs to happen. And I just don't want us living in cages. I don't want us living in bondage. I don't want us living with secrets. And I just think too many of us are willing to do that.
Can I ask a question after that? So I think in the culture where...
Do you want to come clean?
I have the 5% all of the who should people look for to share that information with? Because I think sometimes people will be transparent on social media, and that's not appropriate. So who would you say would be the people that people should look for to share that 5% with?
I have a few thoughts. You want to say something?
I would say it's most times, anything we've ever gone through, somebody else has gone through it. Most times, we're not the only ones. And so, number one, to just remember that you're not alone. And even though you feel alone, you feel isolated, you feel like somebody's going to judge you, pretty much everything that's ever happened, there's someone who's made it through. And so I would look for the people who have made it through, look for the people on the other side of it. And then, of course, being planted in church is so important. Having a pastor that you can confide in, your connect group leader, and then your connect group leader will always get wisdom from someone else to help you on the journey. A counselor. Counseling is amazing. Sometimes there's a stigma with counseling, but I feel like that stigma is just done. Counseling is so healthy and so good, especially in the right context. So I think feeling the guilt is the thing that keeps you trapped and keep you paralyzed. But when you know that other people have been through what you've gone through, so let's learn from them and help get free.
Yeah, and I recognize that in today's day and age, people will share stuff on social media, and sometimes it can be a cry for help, right? It's like, hey, this is what's going on. Or sometimes it can be a cry for attention, and nothing's going on. But I think on the other side, those who are friends and you think a friend is going through something, or a friend has said something to you that seems a little bit different, I think we have to be willing to go, hey, how are you doing? And press into that a little bit more. I don't feel like I've always done a great job of taking the cues of my friends, because they weren't like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what happened yesterday. They might say something like, hey, it's been a tough week. And I go, oh, okay, I'm praying for you. And I think sometimes those might be cues people are giving us, like, hey, can you ask me one more question? If you'll just ask me one more question, I will spill the beans. And I think on the other side, I want to be that kind of friend that's willing to ask that next question. Hey, is there something you're not saying that you wish you were saying right now? And if we can even ask that, I think it can help.
And sometimes you have to ask again. Because so many times when we've had moments with people really close to us that have shared real deal stuff that is not something you would want to share, we've had to ask a couple times, because the first time when we asked them, they said everything was great. And so don't be afraid as a friend on the other side of it, or a leader on the other side of it, to ask a different way, a different time.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Just getting deep on a Tuesday morning.
No, it's good. I feel like I appreciate even those practical steps. I think asking twice is so huge, and just even taking time. I think what all of that requires is you to pause whatever it is you're doing.
It does.
And
It
to
does.
lean in. But y'all do that so well.
Who does it better?
I would say you, but you would say Onika.
That's good. That's good.
Onika does everything better.
No.
It's true,
y'all
except
both are
basketball.
incredible.
Except basketball.
No,
I'm terrible at basketball.
I'll crush her.
literally.
Literally, right now. If
Would
we played
if y'all
1-on-1.
played, would you go hard or would you not?
Oh my gosh, I would try to block every shot. I mean, I'd take her to the
I'm
paint.
fast though, but I'm
Honey,
just not
honey,
strategic.
Honey, you're
I
not
don't know where to
fast.
put my speed. I am fast.
Remember that time we were in the hospital? Who was it? Was it me? Was in the hospital
I
or
don't
Parker?
even- I
Somebody was
don't
in
know
the
the story.
hospital,
Tell me.
and we raced down the hallway. You raced Parker. and-
Parker did beat me.
Yeah, he beat you, but he had just had surgery. Do you remember
Listen, I am fast. The next time we're together, I will show you my
that?
speed.
Oh my gosh.
My
I feel
speed,
like it's happening.
yeah, my speed is not focused speed, but it's fast.
That's like you're quick.
I'm quick.
You're quick. Yeah.
I
believe
would
that.
love to see
believe
that.
Yeah, I will do it.
I love you.
Just to prove my point.
No, to the point who's better. Y'all, I was thinking this, Rachel and I talked about it yesterday, that I mean, there's just no one better, in our opinion, to talk to about relationships
Oh,
than you
you're
guys.
kind.
Because
You're
I think we feel like we'd be lost if we hadn't gotten to just see a beautiful picture
Oh,
of
you
what
guys,
marriage
you're
looks
kind.
like.
Thanks, man.
And so we're just gonna stay on that subject.
Okay, let's go.
One of the questions we didn't get to: what has been the biggest lesson that was learned the hard way from each of you when it comes to growing together in marriage?
Ooh, man.
That's a good
A
one.
bunch of those probably. I've grown, I think, a lot. And so thankful to have a wife that's filled with lots of grace. So thank you for that. One of the first ones that comes to my mind, I'll give you a first one. And I've shared this with the church. Whenever we were starting the church, Onika and I, there's no building, there's no people. It's Onika and I. We had 2 kids at the time. Well, maybe a couple of folks that said yes, to the church at that time. So, but there's no building. We're not meeting on Sundays. It's just
Us.
she and I in the house working on stuff. And man, we stepped on each other's toes all the time. I mean, it was like we were learning a brand new
Yeah,
dance.
like newlyweds, even though we'd been married for 10, 12 years. I
Something
don't
like
know.
that, yeah. So, gosh, even more.
Okay, yeah.
Probably.
But it felt like
15.
year
We're
one.
15 years. Yeah, maybe 14 years at that time. 14,
That's
15
crazy.
years.
What was the primary contributor to that? Was it the change? Was it all the change? Or
Yeah, I think it was a change. I think it was,
You stepping into a new role.
yes, both of us have, new roles,
We'd never worked together before.
like that. We had worked together at our last job together, but she kind of did her thing and I kind of had my thing over here. We were in the same office.
Yeah.
Like actually sat in the same room, but we were working on different things. Now there's just one thing to be working on, this church that we see in our hearts, and there'd be times she'd be like, hey, I got this idea. I'm like, and I'm like, no, I've got this idea. And we're kind of going back and forth, and she's working on stuff with sisterhood in the house, and there's stuff everywhere, and I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? Because we've got this other thing going on too. She's like, yeah, but I got to get this thing going. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I mean, we're like stepping on each other's toes. And then again, in my own insecurities, and this is one of the big lessons that I had to learn, is every time she was making suggestions, I was hearing that she didn't believe in me. I was hearing Earl, you don't have what it takes. I was hearing, I don't think you measure up. And that was happening over and over and over and over again with every suggestion she made. That's what I kept hearing, and it just was killing me on the inside. And I didn't know that. I didn't understand. I couldn't put the words around that. And then eventually one night we were laying in bed together, and just I don't know how the conversation even came up. But we were able to talk, and I was finally able to articulate what I was feeling. And of course, that's not what she was saying at all, but that's what I was hearing with my own insecurities and lies. So that was a really, really hard lesson to say, hey, she does believe in you. She is for you. She's on your side. She supports you 110%. She's here to hold up your arms. And literally every suggestion is because she wants this dream that God had put in my heart to come to life. Yeah. And all she wants to do is help make that thing happen. Yeah. And she's being exactly who God has called her to be. And here I am stifling who God has equipped her and called her to be because of my own insecurities. So that was a hard lesson, I think, to learn. Lots of number of tears and the dance. But Onika's done such a great job too. Even here recently, she says things like, hey honey, what can I do to hold up your arms? What can I do to support you? What can I, now I say these same things to her. But she's like, hey, you're not only my husband, you're my pastor. I love you so much. What can I help with? How can I help with the church? How can I serve? What can I take off your brain? What can I take off your plate? And I'm like, man, who has a wife like this? So I'm so thankful that we walked through all of that because I think it helped release you to even lead the way God would want you to lead, because I didn't even have as much insecurity.
Right. And I would say for me, the biggest lesson that I've learned or that I'm learning is to love Earl and to serve and support and to be a strength to him the way that he wants to receive it, not the way that I want to receive it. Because I love serving, I love giving gifts, I love spoiling and just giving my all. But sometimes I put my love languages on him and then get disappointed when he doesn't receive them the way that I would receive them. So for instance, I love giving gifts, and so when I give him a gift, it's very anticlimactic because he's just like, why'd you spend the money on this? Instead of, thank you for thinking of me. I can't believe you got me this.
I say thank you.
Yeah, but it's a reluctant thank you. It's not a whoa. How I would say thank you. Yeah. But then what I've learned over the years is that's not his love language. And so physical touch is his love language. And so quality time is his love language. And so leaning into, because it's easier to serve and support someone the way you feel supported. It's way easier. And so sometimes it's like the difference between if you're right-handed, trying to approach life with your left hand, that's how it feels supporting and serving someone who receives love differently. And so I had to learn how to use my right hand and my left hand in supporting him. And I'm so grateful that I'm still learning it. Sometimes I still do things that I would want him to do instead of
which is fine.
But it's a dance. But I would say that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned is not putting on him the way that I would want to be served and encouraged, but learning him and becoming a whisperer of him. So if he's quiet or contemplative, instead of me taking it personally and deciding I'm going to be quiet and contemplative too, I have to decide in that moment, obviously something's on his mind. I can't take it personal, and I need to stand tall. But my natural inclination would be, well, I'm going to be kind of quiet and emo too, and reflective, and be kind of short. That's what my flesh is saying. But then if I take a step back and go, oh, there's something on his mind, he's processing it, he doesn't have the words to articulate it, and so instead of like pushing, what's on your mind? What are you thinking about? Are you okay? Which is what I would normally want to do. I have to step back and go, you know what? He's going to tell me when he's ready to tell me, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Little things like that.
Do you feel like, have those things, say even the things you touched on, have they gotten easier as you've progressed in your marriage? Or do you feel like, man, I probably apply the same amount, it still requires the same focus for me to lean into that, or how much of that becomes second nature or is a constant lean?
I think you're asking a question that's an important one. which goes to the ruts and the rhythms that every relationship gets in. It's job, it's marriage, it's whatever. They always get in these ruts and rhythms. So even when we're talking about, hey, here's a healthy way to approach something, and you're like, okay, that's great, but for 17 years I've been doing whatever, or for 5 years I've been doing this other thing. It's really, really hard to break out of that. So some things have gotten easier because we have just been willing to keep putting in the hard work every single day. And then other things, you can revert back so quickly just because you've been doing things a certain way for so long. So that's where community does help. That's where prayer time matters. That's where allowing the Holy Spirit to convict and say, hey, that's not the right response. Hey, I want you to grow in this area. Hey, I want you to be different here. I love you. I'm for you. I'm on your side, but I'm trying to shape you and mold you. That's where what the Bible calls sanctification, that process of being shaped and molded and formed and fashioned into the image of Christ. And it just takes time.
Yeah.
It just takes time. So some things, yes, I'm sure I've gotten easier, but I don't know. Give us a week, we can slip back into anything at any time.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like you're on, you're a mile down the road and still 10 feet from the ditch on either side. We've made a lot of distance, but we can have a bad marriage anytime we want to. It just takes one of us not being willing to serve, love, lay down our pride. At any point in time, we can just, boom. But we're choosing, let's have a good one, because weeds are natural. Weeds, they just come and they just grow. But what we're trying to do is be willing to do that hard work and pull out those weeds, and you got to do that individually. So that's why even with single people, I'm like, man, work on yourself. Allow God to shape you and mold you.
And stay teachable. I think that in any season of life, the minute that you stop being teachable and stop learning, you just get even more weeds. And so I think we always have to surround ourselves with people who are better than we are.
And you know how crazy it is once you let the weeds grow, overgrow, and I was like, oh, shoot. It takes forever to get in there and now clean it up. It's like that closet that it's like, I'm just going to put one thing in there. I'll put another thing. I'll put it, and before you know it, you got a closet. You're like, it's going to take me all day. It's going to be all weekend now. But if you were willing to just do a little bit of work each day, it would have been fine.
But one of the many things I appreciate you is even when we were dating and even now, 20-something years into marriage, you're super teachable and you're always a constant student.
Oh, thanks.
And that's my advice for all of us, is that we just stay teachable. We stay a student, because you get good at things and you get your rhythm, you get your flow, people start to compliment you, but the minute that you stop being teachable, it just gets funky and weird. And so I think staying teachable, no matter the season, single, married, newlywed, married for 25 years, stay teachable, because there's always something you can learn, there's always something you can do better.
And I love the seasons that you're talking about too, because anytime you enter into something new, there are new things to learn. So I'm going from high school to college.
Yeah, we're raising a high schooler right now. We've never done that before.
We've never done that.
We literally feel like we have a newborn right now.
That's right.
Like, we don't know
what are we doing?
thing.
He's 14. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
so
going on here?
anytime we're around parents that have teenagers, we're like, what do you do for this? What do you do for this? How do you handle that?
We had some friends over the other night, and we have 3 kids, and they're all 5 years apart. So we're going from 14 all the way down to 4. And
our house is crazy.
It just seems like
crazy.
And why our middles, they're like always, our youngest and our middle, they're like going at each other. Oh, I want to sit here. I want to sit there. I'm like, oh my gosh. And our friends, they're getting close to being empty nesters. They're like, man, it's really quiet in our house now, and we miss this. And I'm like, okay. So now we've been saying to each other, we're going to miss this.
Even when it's crazy.
We're going to miss this.
Hashtag we're going to miss this. Like,
we're going to miss this,
Self-talk.
Oh my gosh, they're yelling at each other, right? Oh my gosh, they're arguing about a car. No one cares about that car. We're going to miss this. We're going to miss this.
Yeah,
we're going to miss this. So, but it's a new season.
Yeah, so all that to say, I do feel like a newlywed together in the season of raising a 14-year-old.
I do, yeah.
Because he'll give certain advice to our son. I'll give certain advice to our son. But since it's our son, he'll have a strong opinion on the advice that I'm giving, and so we're learning.
Well, you also have a strong opinion.
No,
Okay,
but you never want him to. There's certain things that are kind of mile markers in your brain where you're like, I want to make sure he doesn't feel this way. I want to make sure he never feels shame. I want to make sure that he feels like everything that he's going through is normal. And so we're just learning that rhythm and learning those handles together. And so even though we've been married 20-something years,
It's brand new.
it's brand new.
New season. So
New season.
you got a new season. Let's learn something new. You're going to a new city. That's something new. You're going to a new job. That's something
and the
new.
thing that helps us is knowing that we both have our kids' best interest in mind.
For sure.
And so that's always our default. Like whatever I say, he knows at the end of the day that I really was trying to do the right thing. Same thing when he says something that I was like, oh, okay. I know at the end of the day, he has the very best interest. Yeah.
But if you're, again, you've never dated anyone, now you're about to date. You've never done that before.
Yeah.
Time to learn.
Yeah.
You know, time
You just can't let the Holy Spirit lead you on a. If you're like, you know what, I've never had a healthy Christian relationship. I'm just gonna figure this out by myself.
No.
It's not gonna work.
That's not the
You're
way it
gonna
works.
be at a motel.
That's the way it works. A motel.
For real. No, you always go further than what you think. You know, it's like
A
not even the.
motel,
It's
that
not
is
even
awesome.
like the Ritz. You're gonna be at a motel. Stay a student. Don't trust yourself.
So fast on that then, if you are a Christian and you're dating, what does that look like? Because I feel like there's so many, and we're probably about to finish up, but just so fast, what does normal, healthy dating as a Christian look like?
You look better. So when people say something's different, you look better, you seem better, you're more pressed into church, you're more pressed into God, you're growing, you're learning,
that's
you
what
look
it
fresh.
should happen.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
When someone is better. Usually when a person is getting worse and you see them less, their countenance changes, then you know something's off.
They used to serve, they used to be involved, they used to have joy.
They used to be present.
But then all of a sudden you're like, wait.
They get distant. Then you know that's like a telltale this relationship is not good or not good for right now.
Yeah.
Could be good for later, but not good for right now.
That's right.
So when you're growing, when you're flourishing, when you're a better version of yourself,
That's right.
That's how your friends and family know you found the right one.
That's
if you're
right.
a better version of yourself, then winning, get married.
Boom. Yeah, that's right. That's good.
Can you
Get
hold
married.
hands?
Get married at the motel.
Don't go to a motel. Can you hold hands? Can you
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think obviously you've got different people now at all different types of stages because we've got plenty of people even in our church that have been married and divorced in their 20s. You know, it's a different day and age that we live in. So this is not I Kiss Dating Goodbye. And God, thank you God for that book, that happened, years ago. But times have changed. Things are different now. So we need to make sure we are creating some healthy standards and guidelines.
And having couples that can ask you the tough questions, that's the key that keeps
But we're not
you-
having sex. I'm still don't have sex outside of marriage. Don't do it. It's not better for your relationship. I don't know a relationship that's better. Because let's start doing this right now. I'm telling you, God's way is better on this. You hold out, it's better. You're able to think more clearly and make a better choice about who this person is in front of you. I have not seen it be worse.
And you can reset at any time.
Yep.
This doesn't apply, if you can reset. Like today, you can reset. And you can find people who have reset before and say, how'd you reset? What did you do?
What'd you do?
Like when we were dating and I wanted to do it the right way with this one, we had accountability with people asking us tough questions.
Then you have to have that transparency.
Yeah, totally.
Because there are plenty of times we try to put the Bible between us and still Onika would end up hugging me tightly.
But it's hard. It is not easy. Just because you love Jesus and you're trying to do something the right way,
No,
it is.
that's right.
I would say that was the hardest.
It's still so difficult.
Yeah, it's very
difficult. Like so much self-control because actually God wired us to grow together emotionally, and then this physical aspect of it. It's part of the culmination of becoming one. We were designed to do that. Now everyone inverts it and makes the physical first, but something else should be happening in here before it ever happens, physically. But we're designed. So you got somebody that you love, you care about, like Onika and I. We were dating for 2.5 years.
Which is way too long.
Thankfully, again.
And when you're trying to do it the right way.
Yeah,
it's torture.
It was.
It's ridiculous.
If you want to not have sex, 2.5 years is not the way to go about doing it.
Yeah.
So I still don't even know how we were able to do that. To this day, I have no idea. I just must have been really afraid of something. I don't know. But I also really wanted to honor her.
But then you gotta set yourself up right. Like, don't stay up till 3 a.m. together if you have your own apartment. Like, don't have each other over at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, that's the recipe. You know, there's some things you just have to like not trust yourself.
So
Yeah,
what-
but it's so worth it.
So it just because of the guilt, the shame that can come in with things where you're like, man, I'm not going the way I want to go, and now I'm questioning the relationship, and I'm
Sometimes
wondering,
it
does
makes
God?
you look at the person with different eyes where you don't appreciate them as much and you stop kind of valuing them and then you start questioning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We just seen, that's what sin does. It just gets in there and it brings.
Muddies the water.
Yeah, it muddies the water. It really, really does. So, how much more time we got? Are we all done here?
We're done?
That's probably it.
Okay.
I'm sure everyone would love us to keep going. 'Cause this is so good, y'all.
We love all of y'all so
I
much.
know.
Everyone who is watching, we're so in your corner. We're praying for life-giving relationships
Yeah.
at work, at home.
Yeah, with your family.
Family, roommates, obviously spouses, kids. We're just trusting that God would lead and guide. And this is just a conversation, but we do know you'll need to take those next steps to make sure you're in community because this stuff has to be hashed out in the context of community, healthy community as well. So hopefully this is a springboard
So
that
good.
push folks forward. But you did a great job.
You did great.
Love you.
Love y'all.
So